It's not even really a habit, more an instinct. We keep our PS4 hooked up to the TV in our bedroom and like to fall asleep to Dragon Ball reruns and whatnot. We lay there, intertwined in our mutual dorkiness, until I eventually feel his breathing slow and deepen, his chest steadily rising and falling as he drifts off into a satisfied slumber. I stay awake just for a while, just to enjoy these quiet moments, to adore his freckles and the way his eyelashes brush against his cheeks. We're both servers at the same restaurant. We work hard and sleep harder, but I'm usually the one to fall asleep last. I enjoy how he feels for a while. Warm, relaxed, and still. He falls asleep with his arms around me, his sleepy breaths in my ear, one hand linked with my own. It's funny, his pinky finger on his right hand always sticks out, even when he's sleeping. He'd cut it pretty bad one night, prodding with an unthawed chicken breast, with one of our largest kitchen knives, during a fit of drunk munchies. He was just trying to make some food, I suppose. I didn't get to see how exactly it happened. He just wandered back from the kitchen clutching his right hand, and casually said he thought he'd hurt himself. Apparently the knife had slipped in his hand, slicing his pinky almost in two. He sheepishly showed me, and sure enough, underneath the clean cut shone the bright flash of bone and pulsating pink tissue. I remember the blood splatter, how forceful it seemed, spraying onto the bathroom wall every time he dared to let pressure off the wound. I remember how it stained the white t-shirt we were using to try and stop the bleeding. There was so much from that tiny wound it didn't seem real. He insisted he felt fine, that it wasn't that bad, that he'd seen a doctor in the morning. So we tied bits of t-shirt around the thing and he slept with his arm above his head. I thought for some reason that'd be better for bleeding. In the coming days after some actual treatment, he talked to our coworkers up a tree about how he could never use his pinky again, how he couldn't bend it, how he cut 70% of his tendon. He'd tell the same story over and over, the same exact words, an initiation every time one of our coworkers asked what the bandage was all about. He seemed to like the attention so much, I became suspicious. I watched him take plates from customers' table, watched how he poured his drinks, always checking to see if that pinky really could bend. Apparently it couldn't. It still can't. It really can't. He's apparently not bullshitting. Even now as he's sleeping and holding my hand, it's sticking out. Forever fancy, as we call it now. But that's not the only consistency here. Our bedroom door is always closed. As sure as that pinky can't bend, neither will my boyfriend's insistent need to keep her damn bedroom door closed. I'll be just on the blissful edge of sleep, exhausted, dreams dancing just behind my eyelids, only to feel him roll over and notice. "Babe, can you close the door?" I'm tired. I'm so tired, but I do it every time. I throw off my blankets and make my weary march to the only slightly cracked door, pushing it that 1 inch until he hears the satisfying metallic sound of it closed. I don't know why it matters so much. It's always basically closed before the fact, just not completely. Then again, I was also skeptical about his damn pinky finger. I should have known better. Our restaurant recently got shut down. Its sister location is still open, but the one on our side of town just wasn't making enough money, I suppose. We were offered jobs at the other store, but it's simply too far away, so my boyfriend and I started looking for jobs near our apartment complex. He landed an interview 2 days ago, spent his first day at the new bakery place today, said it was really fun, bought a bottle of Evan Williams to celebrate his new job. I was all for it, full of tipsy congratulatory snuggles. We had fun, ate crappy impromptu drunk people food we found utterly delicious, watched a couple of anime episodes in bed, and finally started getting sleepy around 3 a.m. As always, he fell asleep first. The door was open. He passed out before he could notice. I was also pretty drunk and couldn't give a crap. I instead gave in to his warmth and coziness of our blankets, and gave sleep its permission to take me. I don't know how long I was laying there. I read somewhere that most people fall asleep after an average of 7 minutes, so I don't think it could have been too long. I was so close to falling asleep that I dismissed the sound of the door creaking further open as a dream. I didn't think twice as the room grew suddenly cold. I left the ceiling fan on and tend to keep a leg or two out of the covers. But when I felt those icy fingers wrap around my ankles, it was more than enough to shoot me far out of dreamland. I sat straight up in bed, the fresh feeling of dread slicing through my drunken dreariness as soon as a knife sliced through my boyfriend's little pinky finger. I pulled my legs close, frantically clutching at my ankle. Finding nothing. Confused and suddenly terrified, I patted at the blanket searching for something, anything. Whatever it was that could have touched me in such a way. Again, nothing. Suddenly, almost instinctively, my eyes darted towards the inky blackness that was a space beyond our bedroom door. Nothing. My heart fluttered wildly in my chest. I could hear my own breathing like a hurricane in my ears against the silence. But nothing else. My eyes must have tried their damnedest to adjust to the darkness beyond, but I could not, for the life of me, see anything past the doorway. It almost seemed like the shadows were seeping in, cradling the corners of the walls, and creeping ever towards me, tricking my eyes into making the room darker and darker. I needed light. I reached for my phone on the nightstand and tapped the lock button almost frantically. When the light finally shone, I regretted it immediately. She was crouched right next to me, right next to the bed, peering in on me with her wide, vacant eyes. They were empty white pools devoid of iris or pupil, but staring straight into me. Her hair was a long, tangled mess of mud and leaves. Her cracked lips curled around a smile full of pointed teeth, and there was something nasty smeared across her mouth and cheeks. She tilted her head like a confused animal, calculating what she saw. Me, frozen in terror, clutching my phone like an idiot. I couldn't move. She couldn't be real. I was just drunk. I was dreaming. I was drunk dreaming. She lunged for me, grabbed my arm, and the icy coldness of her fingers made me drop my phone. I clattered to the ground. My boyfriend muttered and moved in his sleep, but did not wake. I barely opened my mouth to cry out to him before she yanked me to the ground. She shrieked something terrible, but he still would not wake. She was on top of me. We wrestled on the ground and seemed to make so much noise. How could he have not woken up? When I tried to scream, she brought another icy cold hand to my mouth and stifled me. I lay powerless under her. Her eyes told me to shush. I don't know where the knife came from. With one hand firmly on my mouth, the other drew the blade slowly, precisely across my face. The only warmth in the room was the hot blood now pouring down my cheeks and chin. I cried out, and she laughed at me. As she moved to make another incision, adrenaline finally set in, and the thrashing thrones of terror somehow managed to struggle away from her icy grip. I hit her. She shrieked in her disapproval. Light. I needed light. In my desperation, I crawled as quickly as I could to the light switch. From the ground, I had to reach high to find it on the wall. My fingers fumbled above me, trying to find it. Her knife found me first. She had been stumbling after me, had lashed out with her blade, and caught my toes with it as I tried to escape. I drew my foot back in pain, clenching my teeth against it. I found the switch. Light poured into the room as quickly as she'd appeared. The woman vanished. I sat frozen for a long moment, my eyes darting about the room. One hand firmly on the light switch, breathing heavily against the silence. My terror embedded just enough to realize the pain in my foot. My toes are bleeding everywhere. I can see down to the bone. I'm trying to staunch the bleeding, but even after all this, I don't think I'll be able to bend them anymore.